Hello, Leo Pride, and welcome to March 2020. Take a deep breath. Come join me here for a really powerful, important conversation. I'm already getting like full body chills. When it comes to Leos, there's something big happening right now in the month of March, and as we move forward, a new era is beginning. So if you kind of look at the progression of Leos, you can actually follow Saturn really effectively to see how that has been affecting the Leo pride. As many of you have been on this journey with me, 2015, 2016 were really tough years. 2014, 2015 were really tough years. We were working through Saturn moving through Scorpio for part of that, and then Sagittarius for a good chunk of that. And there was really hard learning going on there. And then as it was in fellow fire sign Sagittarius, there was still more hard learning. There was some easing up. And then as it's been in Capricorn, there's been some really deep healing and reconnecting with ourselves, reconnecting with our bodies, reconnecting with self-understanding. Saturn is moving into Aquarius in March. Our little counterpart Aquarius, our big counterpart Aquarius, right? And that's big, right? When we have energy in our opposing sign, we are going to be getting big shifts, because there's always a direct dialogue between, your ruling sign, whether that be your sun or your moon or your rising in Leo, and your oppositional sign of Aquarius. So yeah, Saturn is in the relationship sector, right? It's in how we see ourselves too. It's how we self-love. It's how we build structures within relationship that work or don't work for us. And here's the thing, Saturn gets a bad rap. Oh, it's the planet of restriction. It's the planet of no fun. It's the planet of rules and structure and boredom. But here's the thing with Saturn, especially in Aquarius, because Saturn working in Aquarius is very special. Saturn rules Aquarius. It's one of the original rulers of Aquarius. It wants liberation from the things that don't work. It wants liberation. It wants new containers, new structures that are not based on old pain, but are based on liberation and freedom. And that's huge. So for Leos, this is a really big deal, because innately coded within you, relationship has to do with a feeling of liberation, naturalness, freedom of expression, and feeling safe within your bigness. So Saturn is going to be doing the work to help you build a life, build relationships, show up fully, take your space within that, so that you can fully live a life where you feel relaxed about who you are. And that is exciting. But it does mean you got to show up to the table. That is the thing with Saturn. Saturn says, look, I'm going to give you such great tools, such great opportunities, such great experiences, but you got to show fully up to the table, because this is going to be high quality stuff. It's not going to be about the cover show. It's going to be about the moments that really matter. So that's a really big thing happening this month. The other thing that's going on along with Saturn moving into Aquarius on the 22nd is that we're also going through Pisces season until the 20th, and a Mercury retrograde that's working through Pisces and Aquarius. Pisces season for Leo is a big, intense time. It's our house of death and rebirth, especially if you're a Leo rising. Pisces energy is going to be where you feel a shedding of a skin. Whoa, as I said that, something slammed outside of where I'm working today. There is a huge transformation that occurs during Pisces season. I know I feel it every year. I've been looking over the February-March period of every year for the last 5 years, and realizing that this is the time when I normally make my new agreements about how I'm going to show up to my life. So this is a really important time during the last 3 weeks of Pisces season, right leading up to the equinox, to look at the agreements you're making with yourself about how you're showing up or not showing up, to kind of take in what you've learned from Saturn and Capricorn the last couple of years and feel okay to leave some of that work behind and not be doing it in the way you've been doing it before. And one note with this whole big Saturn conversation, Saturn is going to move back to Capricorn starting in a few months. So it's just having a little visit with Aquarius, and then it's going to go retrograde and move back to Capricorn for the second half of the year. So we won't be getting back to Saturn and Aquarius work again until the very tail end of 2020. So you can kind of think about this as a preview, a taster, a chance to get acquainted with this energy, get acquainted with this new lens, and then to kind of keep in mind that for 2021 and 2022, this is going to be the way we're learning and doing stuff. So keep that in mind. A couple other things going on this month. We have a full moon in Virgo in the second house of self-love and value. This is big. It's going to be a really great full moon for, like I keep saying, Leos, this is a time to really show up, own your space, own your lovability. And like, seriously, you've got to just decide. You have to just decide that you are going to live in that space. You're going to commit to yourself to show up. You know, this is a time, and the way the energy is moving over and turning over for us, where it's, you know, it's tempting to maybe go back to these old models of like overgiving or making yourself small or thinking little of yourself. Justice. Boom. Wow. That's a decisive energy right there. That is deciding to show up to this life. This one wild and precious life, as Mary Oliver says. It may be tempting. It may be tempting to go visit those versions of yourself where you're that little kid that feels like in order to be loved, you've got to be the entertainer, or you have to make yourself sweet or cute for people. 8 of Pentacles. Loving this. But you can visit those places, you can look at those places, and you can commit to knowing you're here now. So that full moon in Virgo is going to be huge for that. 10 of Pentacles. Damn, Leo, this is good stuff. This is good stuff. It's talking about commitments, talking about committing your energy. Judgment. Oh yeah. I'm loving this. And then of course, you know, as the sun moves into Aries and we have the spring equinox up here in the northern hemisphere at least, and this is happening just before Saturn shifts. So all of this is happening like around the 20th through like the 24th. That's going to be a really potent time. And I will be doing specials and activations for this time over on Patreon. So I would love to see you over there and join me if you're looking for a lot more resources during this really monumental time. We're going to be doing a ton of activation talk-throughs, practices, 2 of Pentacles. Lots of pentacles going on today because we have the equinox on the 20th. We have Saturn shifting into Aquarius on the 22nd. We have a new moon in Aries on the 24th. In your fellow fire sign, and then we have Mars entering Aquarius. So the last 10 days of March or 12 days or 11 days of March are going to be really, really powerful. As the sun moves into Aries, there's always kind of a lightning and a visionary energy that comes in for Leo. You know, we go through kind of the primordial soup of life and death in the Piscean energy. And for Leos, when the sun moves into Aries, there's kind of this, you know, I feel playful again. I feel fun again. Page of Pentacles. My goodness, the Pentacles are flying today. And all that energy moving into Aries is all about how we view the world as well. 3 of Swords. All right. We hurt ourselves. We often hurt ourselves. And Queen of Swords. Okay. Don't get scared, because look at the bottom of the deck. It's 10 of Cups. Okay, I'm going to leave that in there, because this is what's really interesting. This is what's really interesting. When things are going well, when we are leveling up in life. We're making those commitments. We're showing up to the table of life. We're deciding we're going to live life feeling good about ourselves, feeling like we're allowed to be here. And, maybe some of this has been building up. You've been building into your next adventure. You've been building into your next relationship. You've been building into the life you've been kind of dreaming of. You're noticing when you look around and you take stock that you're in the life that was a fantasy a couple of years ago, right? And then suddenly it's scary. Suddenly you feel like you are floating and you are going to fall and be hurt painfully. Our mind starts to come up with every story as to why we're not going to be okay. And here's where these series of agreements are really important. In these moments where the pain mind wants to come in, where the old wiring wants to come in and take over. I suffer from some PMDD, and I know probably a lot of you out there do as well. In fact, like a really great cartoonist on Instagram was just talking about her journey with this as well, where that part, and it's kind of frustrating when your body does this to you, that part of you that's so afraid comes up. It doesn't fit with all the other pieces. But here's the thing. So I have these moments. That's the point. That's why I brought that up. You're not alone in this. Even with all of my practices and self-care and showing up for my life and doing really, really good things, I get scared moments too. And I get moments where the haunted house in my mind is coming up with all sorts of stuff. That's what's coming up here with that Three of Swords in the midst of all of this juicy goodness. And this is what I will say. It's the challenge that you're stepping into here is to accept good things. To not sabotage, to not run away, to not hurt yourself within that. Because let's start with the power of the first three cards, my friends. Okay, this is that commitment conversation. I think, as we finish up Mercury retrograde, it's moving back through Aquarius. It ends on the 10th. It goes stations direct, then we're going to do our post-shadow work in March. So that's going on as well, underneath all this big turnover of the equinox and Saturn moving. There's a lot of important review going on. And these three cards speak about where you're going to commit your energy. And you have big commitments here, right? You have big investments. This is big investments of money, energy, time, and emphasis. What you're wanting to build next, where you're really wanting to put those resources. You have your time, your energy, your love, and choosing to put them in places that feel good to you. Now, this is a really supportive process here. These are very stable, clear, rational energies that are all about the day-to-day showing up, right? What keeps feeling good, what keeps feeling consistent, what keeps feeling like it's nourishing you. And there being probably a series of decisions that are getting made during this month that feel a little scary to make because they are investments. It does mean making a choice. It does mean using that decision mind and being very clear about that. It can often mean having deep conversations with the people who are involved in that, deep conversations with yourself, getting really radically honest with what you're wanting to invest in, all kind of scary stuff, vulnerable stuff, also super empowering. Because as you make those commitments, you're tapping into something big and bold and juicy here. This is a time to be tapping into the work you really want to be doing, the relationships you really want to be having, the projects you really want to see come to fruition, and getting huge flashes of insight about what that's going to look like down the road. Now, that's a lot of information. And that's where the Judgment and Two of Pentacles is coming in here. So Judgment is one of my favorite cards. It normally signals that there's some deep healing going on, some really deep healing, not just some surface level stuff, but the stuff of connecting with your soul, releasing lineage trauma, ancestral trauma, releasing old paradigms, not even just releasing it, forgiving and loving past versions of yourself, past people from your past, situations from your past, feeling, that golden light be put over all those versions of self, right? It's really deep healing work. This kind of energy is the kind of energy where there is a huge release, often with tears or some kind of physical response. It's a lot of work. It's freeing though. It's liberating, right? We tap into those pain points and we give it love, and therefore we have release. Now, the Two of Pentacles is that indecision. And what I kind of see here is you're having such huge decisive energies there, such huge investment energies there this month. When we looked at those first 3 cards, I'm not surprised Two of Pentacles is showing up, because that's that part of you that's like, I keep making all these investments. Maybe it's going to turn on me. Maybe I need to go back to the way I was doing things. Maybe that was better. Maybe I should take a step back. Maybe I should be afraid. Be afraid that this is all going to turn sour somehow, right? And there's a bit of this waffling voice that wants to come in. And this is where I would say, a shift in energy, like Saturn moving, it's a little destabilizing, because we've all gotten used to the work we were doing with Saturn and Capricorn, which I have to say was very staunch in some ways. It was kind of like plodding along, super earthy, and Saturn's at home in Capricorn. Saturn's also at home in Aquarius, but there is kind of a like, wait a second. If we're going to talk about liberation, we're going to talk about investments that make me feel liberated. We're going to talk about vulnerability that makes me feel liberated. We're going to talk about lifestyle choices that are liberating. Maybe I'm not ready for that. Maybe I should take myself back. Maybe all of this is just me kidding myself. But the thing is, you keep having support. This Two of Pentacles comes in, that indecision, and then some clarity comes in. Then something else comes in and says, look, it's okay, it's okay. Here's the thing with Three of Swords. It's nobody's favorite tarot card. I'm pretty sure this is probably like, I'd almost say that people dread this card more than the Tower, which the Tower has been coming up a huge amount. Here's the thing. You didn't get the Tower in this reading, but like a whole bunch of other signs have. So the Three of Swords is kind of your version of this, because we're having some destabilization of how we've been doing our work this month. There is a revolution afoot, and it's where we hurt ourselves. It's where we cause ourselves pain. It's where we put ourselves back into the haunted house, into the dungeon, into the pain cycle. And I really have noticed in all the work I've done with all my clients, all the work I've done on myself, all the reading I've done, all the learning I've done, one thing has really become clear over all these years of work. When we level up, when we get to a new place in our lives, when we create a new container and a new pattern, there is a point in that process of fear. And it is kind of like vertigo or a fear of heights. It's kind of like you're floating above the ground, but you've been told your whole life you can't do that. And then and then through a series of events and practicing, you're floating up in the clouds. And that voice that says, you can't do this. This is not possible. This is not for you, comes in, and you start to feel like you're going to fall. And you look down, and suddenly your connection with the air and the wind and your soul and everything is all in question, and you realize you're going to fall and you're going to die. Of course, that's just the way it kind of feels. It can even physically feel that way. I think that's a very natural part of incorporating liberation into your life. We get comfortable in our old containers. We get comfortable knowing we're going to be held by something familiar, even if it hurts. And when those familiar things are going away, it's scary for a minute. It's scary to keep trusting. But here's the thing. Look at what your last 2 cards are telling me. The Queen of Swords is once again decisive. Like Justice, these 2 ladies here are all about deciding, choosing the joyful life, choosing the life that is about the long-term love, the stability that is around you in your life that allows you to be creatively expressive and free-spirited and big and wild in your emotions and in your wildness. The kind of situations that allow you to feel liberation via their stability and their kindness and their softness. You're being asked time and again, and I'm going to get emotional about this, to choose this path of warmth and love. To choose it over and over and over again. When you want to use those swords that these women are holding, that are so empowering because they're all about the decisive clarity to hurt yourself, to stab yourself, to turn on yourself, to get scared, paranoid, afraid, shut down. You're going to be invited again and again to choose these 10s. These 10s are showing up, my Leo loves. But like I said, it's a very organic thing to have that fear voice come in when you're doing the work of judgment, of the judgment card, of releasing the judgment, of finding grace in all the versions of yourself, including and especially the versions of yourself that have turned into the Three of Swords, that have gone through the pain, that have gone through the self-sabotage. It's okay. Those pieces need just as much love. Like, this is a huge reading, you all. This is a huge reading. I knew it was going to be a big conversation today, just seeing that the choices and the containers and the lifestyle that is being chosen as we move into a new energetic cycle, it is going to feel lighter. It is going to feel freer. It is going to feel easier. And the goal for you is to, when that paranoid and scared voice wants to come in and take charge, to take a breath and release it. Yeah, I'm definitely working through this right now. I have kind of the most amazing partner in the world, and he's been by my side through all sorts of huge shifts in our lives as we've been making plans and committing energy and all of that. And I've never been with somebody who's so kind and so in my corner no matter what. And interestingly enough, I'm used to being very self-reliant. Like, learning how to trust into that has been really interesting. So I'm sure these next few years are going to be really interesting, and leaning more and more into that soft, easeful trust space. And that can show up in so many different aspects of your life, not just in love relationships. It's in the relationship we have with ourselves. It's in the relationship we have with the work we do in the world, our value with what we want to create and contribute, and all types of relationships. I have some affirmations to close out our reading today, and I'm really excited to share these with you. So here we go. I am safe to discover new patterns and routines. I am loved and lovable, even if I am in unfamiliar territory. Healing and trusting can be fun and joyful. My heart will always guide me home. It just came back to me that healing and trusting can be fun and joyful. What a powerful affirmation that is, because, we often think that healing and learning to trust and learning these new skill sets kind of comes with like just this painful, doleful kind of like expelling of who we've been. But I think healing and trusting can be so soft and joyful too. And it's a great affirmation when you're going through some of those days of distrust with yourself, and with your legacy and with your ability, your permission to be here. Not even just permission, there's advocacy for you to be here universally. So just keep that in mind. Be so gentle with yourselves. Let yourself have this happiness and this joy. I'm sending you so much love. And like I said, I will be doing a ton of extra materials over on Patreon for these big shifts. So you can come join me over there, and I will be offering some really nice soft spaces to come back to again and again as we work through this process. I'm so excited to share that with you. I'll leave the link for that below. My one-on-one calendar. It's a work in progress. So keep an eye out. I will be trying to make those announcements about when the calendar opens over on my Instagram. Whenever I have a new rollout of session dates, you can keep an eye there, but I'll leave my calendar booking link below because there will be more sessions over the next few months once I get everything sorted out. And you can also find me on Instagram at Sarah Verba. So if you're looking for those announcements, it's a great place to go. Plus, I try and drop some nuggets of wisdom over there from time to time. And of course, I'm wearing PinkLune's gorgeous jewelry. I would love it if you go check out her shop. She makes such beautiful, heartfelt, handmade work, and she's one of my besties. So show her some love. I will see you all in April Wow. And also for moon magics, of course. And I am sending you so much love on this journey. I'm really excited to see where the Leo clan is heading in this month. Sending you my heart, my beautiful Leo pride.